All right. So welcome back to Inside AFC Fitness. I'm here with Steven and with Tyler from our Radnor location. And this time around, I kind of wanted to take some time with you guys and with some of our trainers here to talk about, what you guys train for. A lot of times, some of us, and I think Tyler will probably touch on this, and Steven, you will too. I know for me personally, coming out of high school and into college, there was a lot of it was sports related, right? Mm-hmm. And it kind of made you fall in love with it. And then it was kind of what's next sometimes, depending on how far you took your career. And a lot of our clients and all are in the same boat. And sometimes it gets outside of sports, right? It's, I have 4 kids at home, right? It's, can I keep up with the last 2 the same way I did the first 2, or what, all those different things that you think about. So I wanted to kind of touch with you guys. I got, did a little digging. Michelle gave me a little insight on what, and Tyler, you and I have talked a lot about what you guys are into. Mm-hmm. So why don't we start there? Steven, why don't you give us like a little bit of your background, how long you've been with AFC, and some of your outside of AFC, passions and things that you pursue.
Sure. So growing up, I was an athlete. I played baseball all the way up until college. I played at Cabrini University until they were sadly bought out by Tyler's alma mater. So they're no longer a school. But after college, I still had the competitive edge, so I started powerlifting. Did that for a couple of years and found out that it got a little stale for me. So now I currently compete in strongman, which World's Strongest Man competition, like they pull trucks and all that stuff and lift awkward objects and all that over their heads and all these crazy feats of strength. So that's really what interests me. Okay. That's what I do now. Mm-hmm. But I still have the competitive edge, so I plan on doing that for a very long time and reaching into the highest level that I can with that sport.
So sidebar, can you claim, or would you claim to be a Villanova Wildcat or no?
Villanova Cabrini.
Okay.
That's the new campus.
There you go. Yeah. All right, Tyler, what about you?
So in a similar way, having played football at Villanova / Cabrini, whatever you want to call it, but really coming out of the career I had there, and I think as we talked before, my work career started outside of the fitness industry. I've since obviously gotten back into the fitness industry. And in that period of time, I lost structure in my training, which for the better part of really about 4 years at Villanova playing football, every single thing we did, whether it be in the weight room, on the field, recovery, athletic training, you name it, was all structured. And there was a staff of people there responsible for what I'm doing at all times. So when you get away from that, you have to create your own structure. And for a while, I struggled with that. So once I got back into the fitness industry, really before that, but it's been more and more right as time has gone on, getting into these competitions, 2 that I've done between DECA Strong at AFC Bala right here, but also with High Rocks too, both of which are similar-ish types of competitions in that it's a hybrid training type of modality. And that structure has allowed me to just have built-in, I guess you could say, routines in place where there's an objective of here's the competition, here are the stations, here's what you have to do as fast as you can. And then from there, using the trainer creative spin on it, I can program for myself, but it's within a framework of here's the objective, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to go. Yeah. And so having that structure in place, similar to what Steven said, has allowed me to have better structure in my training, but also allow me to continue to compete and ultimately be in, I think, the better shape than maybe I've ever been before. So it's just a constant way to continue staying motivated. And it's also a community aspect as well, where there's other people that do these competitions. As you know, of course, with over at AFC Radnor, a few of the SGT class members have done some DECA partner miles, workouts with me, and it's been such a great way to build community. Trust in our training staff, and that we're willing to do it with you, right? To bring you along the journey, but also to just have a way to connect on a different level. So across the board, it's just been a really great way to kind of reignite some of those early inspirations that you get when you start working out.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys kind of both went places I was going to go, but so I'm going to kind of circle back to it. You touched on a little bit about like what the strong man is, but someone like no idea whatsoever. I was going to get into the weirdest thing you had to lift and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot that goes into it, but give like someone that just has no idea what that competition's like, what that looks like.
So do you want my definition or the actual definition?
I like a little bit of
both. I've
both.
had to memorize it for people because I have no idea what it is.
Well, let's hear your version of it. I think that's probably more.
My definition is lifting. So the common movement patterns of humans, like picking up, pushing, carrying, it's all of that, but
Right.
you're lifting with awkward objects.
Yeah.
So like kegs, lifting a metal log over your head, stuff like that.
Right.
The actual book definition is a strength sport that requires maximum power to push, pull, move in a optimal manner with awkward objects. So lifting, like I said, kegs and getting from point A to point B as super fast as possible.
Yeah.
And everything's timed, for reps, all that. So it's a very complex sport, and I've had to memorize the actual definition to explain it to people. Because just saying world's strongest man, nobody really knows what that is.
Yeah.
Unless you've seen it on ESPN or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like everyone should at some point came across it. 'Cause,
Yes.
I mean, once you turn it on, it's hard to turn off. It's pretty captivating for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Deca and we have High Rocks for you, right? I've dug into all of this quite a bit over the last week, getting ready to talk to you guys, but give a little bit more of a detailed explanation of the difference, because there is some differences quite a bit, actually.
There are. So the main difference is that there's really there's multiple different types of DECA competitions. DECA as a structure, the 10 workout or functional stations, they call them, are the same. Things like reverse lunges, the rower, the ski erg, burpee overheads. There's 10 of them, hence the term DECA. And then the 3 different versions are strong, mile, and then fit. And strong, there's no running, just the 10 stations. Mile, every run is 160 meters, times 10 adds up to a mile. And then for the fit, it's 500-meter runs before each station. So more running, more aerobic capacity required, ultimately adds up to a 5K. But what's nice about DECA is that it can meet you where you're at. So if you're naturally a runner and you're building strength, that's something you're working on, you might maybe start out with either the mile or the fit because you're naturally a runner. Your strength base is building up, so that'll get you through the 10 stations. For me, I started as a complete non-runner, and so the DECA Strong was a great way to start getting introduced to these competitions where I don't have to run. Now, of course, I've been running a bit more to try to build on that, but it's a great way to get started where it's just the 10 stations as fast as you can. Now, High Rocks is a bit more consistent in that a High Rocks is a High Rocks, but in terms of the differences of stations, they're a bit longer in High Rocks, a little more distance. So, for example, the ski erg in High Rocks is 1,000 meters. In DECA, it's 500 meters. Same thing goes for the rower. The last station of High Rocks is the infamous 100 wall balls, and there's nothing quite exactly like that, similar to in the DECA, but it's just a longer, kind of a bigger beast. And the runs are 1 kilometer, and there's 8 stations total, also 8 runs. So it's just bigger and longer, but ultimately every type of the DECA versus the High Rocks, they all challenge you in different ways. So the more running that's involved, the more aerobic capacity is required. Then DECA kind of shrinks that a little bit, trending towards anaerobic. But functionally, the stations are more or less similar movements.
Yeah. So going back to kind of where we started, where, the origin of your interest in, whatever it is that you guys do, it was the Strongman, High Rocks, DECA, and the preparation for that. I think a lot of that for us, the 3 of us, I'm saying us, I'm just lumping myself in with you guys, but it comes from an athletic background, right, in playing sports. And as we know, as trainers and as, former athletes and current athletes in the competitions you guys compete in, there is preseason, in-season, off-season. There's no real off-season, right? There's a training program for all of it. Do you guys, with the sports that you play, baseball, football, we very vividly remember those? I currently coach, so I'm making those programs for. Are you guys treating these events almost in that similar fashion where you're training? There's the preseason kind of ramp up when I have a strongman coming up or I have a DECA coming up. I need to be here at this point, and then when I get closer to the event or week of the event, maybe my training's a little different, and then right afterwards, maybe there's something that's a little bit different. Kind of walk me through, I guess, Steve, start with you, with the strongman, how you prepare.
I'm currently in prep for a competition now. My next one's March 28th, so it's coming up. And what prep looks like for me, I had to cut a lot of weight this prep. So I started in August, and I was 243, and now I'm 215.
Oh, wow.
I actually am supposed to get down to 198, but that's not going to happen. And he's smiling at me because he knows it. But yeah, so we have an off season as well where we call it I have a coach myself.
Okay.
And we call it a massing phase. So you're really building up your general physical preparedness, which is your ability to perform work under load and build your work capacity. So when we dial it down and we get into prep or competition prep, you've already built that stamina. So now when you're losing weight and it gets harder, your body's able to push through and has that work capacity already. So we still have those same phases like in baseball. We would always have like a summer program, and then when we get in season, you know, you did the work already, so now it's go time.
Yeah.
Same exact thing. I'm sure that's the same for you. But
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think it's fundamentally the same principles. In terms of how it's executed, it'll just look a little different because lifting extremely heavy weights in bizarre ways. That's one of the
Awkward ways.
Awkward ways.
Awkward
Part of
objects.
mix. Yeah. And for me, for the high rocks or DECA competitions, that would just look a little different in that it's, you know, skier, rower, wall balls, sled push, sled pull, things like that. But the transition from, again, building the capacity for work, there's probably, in a different way, longer aerobic capacity required for something like a high rocks as you're running, not as much maybe with strongman, but
hey, there's a little bit.
there is a little bit,
a
absolutely.
little
But just it looks a little different, but fundamentally the phasing is the same.
Yeah.
And then, like Steven mentioned, you're getting ready for a competition. Like, for example, this past weekend, I was down in Washington, D.C. for the high rocks down there. And really the week and a half up to it, you're not going to get seriously faster, stronger in a week and a half. So that week and a half for me looks like making sure my hamstrings are healthy, because we're running 8 kilometers and I ended up doing 2 competitions. So really it was 16 across 2 days. Hamstrings being healthy, hips, getting full depth in the wall balls, making sure hip flexors are ready for that twice, you know, things like that. So it's prep work for capacity, same fundamental principle, you know, as Steven mentioned. Once you get into the rhythm of really coming up to the competition, you're fine-tuning little things. Something else too, I'm sure this applies for you as well. The rules and how movements are standardized, you have to be very precise so that you follow the rules. So for example, for, you know, wall balls and high rocks, you have to get your hips below parallel. It's not even too parallel, it's even lower. And so by the time you get to that point in the workout, your brain's not really processing information. Everything's a blur. You're just full on go mode. And you have to be able to do the movement properly when you can't think about how to do it properly.
Right, yeah.
So it's fine tuning those little things like that, or where to put your feet on the sled pull, because you have a little box, you can't go outside the box or you'll get a penalty. And why add time to your time for just a penalty, right?
Yeah.
So little things like that. Maybe the only difference, I would say, compared to say like a football or baseball in season, off season, thing like that, is it's a quicker recovery time, at least for DECA and high rocks, I think, where there's not really a true off season. It's more or less, are you prepping or are you tapering? You don't really need, I mean, of course, a couple days.
Well, there's not like an in-season either, too. I was thinking, like, it's not like you, because in season, you know, you do cut out, like, you know, for baseball, you're not max lifting at that point. You're
I'm doing
just
that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're also, it's a single event. So, or, you know, so there might be a week lead up where you're just making sure your movements and all are good, but then it's kind of, it's there and but it's the mind, I guess it's more the mindset and the way you mentally prepare for it.
Definitely. And they're accessible. I mean, in theory, you could do these competitions almost every weekend. Now, is that optimal? Probably not. But basically, as soon as you're ready, you can find one, and depending on whether it's DECA or high rocks, in, you know, my case, generally you can find one that's available. And so what also that allows for is easier programming leading up, say, the next 6 months. One spot here, one spot there. Let's say they're about 2 months apart, 3 months apart, and then you can phase your programming properly.
You kind of make your schedule around.
Exactly. But it's sort of a continuous loop rather than having to take 6 months off because there's no options, because there's always generally one you can find somewhere nearby.
Okay. All right. So let's translate this back to what you guys do for AFC, right? Because it's what matters. And we kind of want to relate this to our members and future clients and current clients, you know, with that mindset. Like we said, they don't all do a strongman and high rocks and everything else, but everyone has something, right? It doesn't, you can think about whether it's the emotional goal of whatever it is that they need to accomplish, or it could be just life goals, like you know, like I mentioned with the kids and things like that. So everyone has something. You know, do you have those discussions with your clients, whether it's a new client or a current client? Like, hey, like what are we working for, right? We're not just trying to. Grace mentioned something funny about the chili dogs, right? Like it was like it could be something as simple as that, but like,
Absolutely.
do you guys have those conversations with your clients?
So typically when I have a new member assessment or a new client, I discuss their goals with them. I've actually had a few that don't have any goals at all, but they want to just get better. And I give them some homework. I said, you know, I'll let you develop a goal. Then we'll come back and we'll determine if it's a smart goal or not. And I just describe what a smart goal is and what if it's realistic or not. And I tying it back to strongman with that. All my clients are doing strongman, whether they know it or not.
Yeah.
Because it is a very functional sport, whether it be overhead pressing or carrying movements. So those apply to everyday life, and it is bettering them every day, every time they come in.
Right.
But turning back to their goals, I always talk to them about their goals and want to make sure that they're getting taken care of and are getting the service that they want. But doing stuff, sneaking stuff in that they don't think they need, but they truly do.
Yeah. What about for you, Sal? You get specific like that with them?
In a lot of cases, this is probably a perfect time to talk about DECA now because we have our event coming up here.
Yeah.
No, but really, when I started doing that, and of course, every handful of clients, were wondering, so like, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, did a DECA Strong competition back, say 6-ish months ago. Was prepping to go down to Florida for the World Championship of DECA Strong for my age group, and some clients were interested in that, and as sort of and for me, it's a source of motivation for myself to keep me going. But I think that translates into if a client's interested or say unsure of how to stay motivated, by doing this as their trainer, it just helps me learn a little bit about what gets me motivated. And of course, everyone is motivated differently, but in how to get somebody excited about their training. It's just one example of how to do that. And so a handful of clients said, hey, you know what? I want to try DECA Strong. I don't know if I can do it. And that's where, as a trainer, you step in and say, we're going to do this together. Whether it's, say, a partner version or on their own, we get them ready for it. But that's sort of one example in terms of some of them just want to jump aboard and then they go out, they rock it, kill their goal, and then on to the next goal. Maybe we want to improve the time, maybe involve more running if it starts with a strong, something like that. But I think another piece to it as well is just having, for myself as a trainer, it's important to always be on your best game, right? And so these competitions are a way to keep myself accountable in that if I can't keep myself in tip-top condition and mentally locked in and every single workout is with a purpose, then it's a lot harder, I think, to have purpose in workouts you're giving to your clients too.
Yeah.
And so it's just,
you gotta live it too, right?
Exactly.
you got to live it. And there's been a handful of clients too who, say for High Rocks, for example, who, maybe are interested, not necessarily maybe in doing it. I mean, some, of course, but even just the training itself and having that structure. And I always find it very valuable and just important to, if I'm going to try to teach someone and bring them along this journey, I have to know what I'm doing myself to better, or really to best understand it, and then to be able to teach, right? And so, like for example, strongman. I mean, I worked out with Steven once at for a strongman twice, and I didn't know what I was doing with some of these different movements. Steven taught me, right? And so I wouldn't feel comfortable telling people how to do certain strongman movements, like a keg toss.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that technique. I've never done it, but Steven's done it. He can very well instruct someone how to do that. So down the road, when we've talked about, I think it'd be great to explore. But at least as far as right now, it's just, if you're going to tell someone how to do something, I find it valuable to do it at your very best that you can yourself too.
So with preparing for this and meeting with clients and all, I guess it's kind of a two-part question, but just, have you ever come across, so I'll get them out now. Have you ever come across someone where you're like, a new client or a prospective new client that you're like, you would do well with this, we should make this, like, we should think about, someone that came in was not even thinking about competition, but was like, I know you've competed with clients and things like that too, to say, hey, we should make this the goal, and there's this one at this date. To your point, obviously we want to mention the one we're hosting here in AFC in Bala. We want to encourage as many people to get with trainers and meet with them maybe prior to, so that they can get at least a little exposure and understand that. But then also just kind of figuring out, if a client that's not with you now, but is thinking about one of these events, what's like advice for you guys? So I guess kind of a two-part question for you.
So I actually have a client right now. Shout out Pete Wagner from Radnor. He's very, very strong guy. And I told him, Pete, I have a background in powerlifting. You should try this out. And he genuinely has no interest in it.
Okay.
And I think he'd be very, very good at it. Squats a lot. He benches a lot. He overhead presses a lot. And I think he could go far in that sport. And he was not even thinking about that. He came to me and had a simple goal, and we've achieved it already. but I think we should take it a step further, and he should pursue that and use that as his new hobby. As in terms of the other part of getting someone into it, I recommend to people whatever floats your boat. And it's super simple. I like strength sports stuff. I remember watching World's Strongest Man competitions. My coach is really strong. I tend to gravitate towards that. When I was playing baseball, I hated running. It was the worst part of it. So something like a DECA or a High Rocks, I could not do. But you want to find your passion and then gravitate towards that. Once you find that, stick with it and ride it out and see how far you can go with it. That's my advice to people that come and want to try a DECA, High Rocks, strongman, powerlifting. Try them all out. I've done everything. Maybe not DECAs, but I've done everything in the strength world, and this is what I've settled
I heard
on.
there's a DECA coming up if you're interested.
I've told them I cannot do it. I barely can do the assault bike. I'll pass
That's a
out.
mentality, though. Let's talk about that. But in a lot of the Stevens points, I would echo too. When it comes to someone who's maybe unsure, like maybe they're interested, but just they're not sure if they can do it. As a trainer, that's a really critical point to step in and say, well, we're going to start with maybe we'll regress some of the movements. So, for example, so my mom actually is teaming up with one of her friends, also a client of mine, to do the DECA Strong at here AFC Bala.
Okay.
And as a team, right, you split up all 10 stations however you'd like, and there are certain limitations that my mom has, because whether it's depth or going overhead, things like that. But with certain movements, there's ways to regress them to at least see what we're capable of doing. So first movement for the DECA Strong, not to do the whole sales pitch for DECA Strong, but the first one is reverse lunges with a weight on your back, which depends on sort of your division. And, my mom, for example, can't necessarily get her back knee to the ground. Can we start with TRX supported reverse lunges? Absolutely. She can do those, no problem. So there's ways to get someone started. If they're scared of what the competition is, there's a way to start them maybe somewhat in a regress version, and then you build up. And those are some of the best stories, of seeing how someone might have started behind, maybe in terms of the progression model, that maybe they weren't able to fully get the whole thing done, but over time they prep, they build, they have a trainer there to help them through all that, and then they get it done. And it's like, I never thought that was possible. Yeah. And another good example, not to shout out Grace, but I'm sure she would appreciate this. She's not necessarily the tallest lady. That box for the DECA, no matter who you are, is 24 inches tall. Yeah. And we started out, and it was really a challenge for her to get up there. And the last one we did a couple months ago, we split those box step overs half and half, and she did it no problem. Yeah. Because again, some techniques, some tips and tricks, having done it, there's certain ways you angle yourself, things like that. But also with certain strength work that's focusing on that particular movement, and she rocked it out of the park. Yeah. So you see moments like that of starting with maybe a bigger challenge than maybe someone would have thought, you build up, and then they conquer it. So going back to your original question, I think if someone's unsure but interested, as a trainer, that's where the value of what we do really comes into play. Right. Because way more is possible than what someone might think. Sometimes they just need the right structure of programming and even just confidence boosting, right? Because it is a lot. But if you just have someone there to guide you every step of the way, I think most people will be surprised at what they can accomplish.
We are now joined by Mariana from Radnor as well.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. To kind of kick it off, though, let's give everybody a little bit of a background, because Mariana is one of our newer trainers, and kind of how long you've been with AFC, and what you were doing prior to AFC Fitness.
So I'm originally from Puerto Rico. Okay. I started in AFC technically in November, but since I'm still a student, I'm at Villanova University. I took a break for the winter break. So then I started officially training in January. Prior to that, I played volleyball for 10 years. Okay. That was my main sport, volleyball all year round, and then did beach volleyball during the summer. So literally playing beach volleyball 12 months a year. But apart from that, I never went pro. I'm 5'5". I'm not big, not tall for volleyball. Yeah. And I wasn't even a good player. I know that, but I just loved the sport. And
did you play volleyball in school? Is that what you said?
Well, I played volleyball club back home, and then school. I didn't love my school that much. I didn't play at school. But then we play club 10 months a year. So we had that all year round.
Okay. We may circle back to the volleyball thing, but with, the topic of conversation here and what we're discussing is just, the events and the things that our trainers are into outside of AFC Fitness and what kind of keeps them motivated. And sometimes not just motivated, but organized with their fitness and their working out. And so why don't you give everybody a little bit of an idea of, the things that drive you outside of AFC Fitness in your fitness journey?
So right now I'm training for the half marathon for the Love Run. And then I did sign up for the High Rocks New York, which I'm very, very excited. So I'm started training for that a little bit now, but my main focus right now is the Love Run because it's on March 29th.
Okay.
So I've been running like 4 times a week. And then apart from that, doing High Rocks workouts. But I have to find a good balance between everything because I am a student and I'm writing my thesis. So a lot of hours in the lab. A lot of hours in the lab. I have 2 other jobs at school. So I have a whole lot in my plate, but I like it.
Okay.
It keeps me entertained.
So it sounds like the running came before the High Rocks, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what got you motivated or curious about the High Rocks?
So I remember seeing Lucy Davis. I don't know if you know her. She's a fitness influencer. Do a High Rocks, I believe, 2022.
Okay.
And since then, I've always wanted to do one. But back home, I didn't have the equipment to train. I've never seen a ski erg before. Rower, yes. We didn't have a turf where I worked out, so I couldn't properly train for that. And when I started at AFC and I heard about Tyler doing the High Rocks, I was like, wait. So I could do it here.
Yeah.
And since I plan to stay here for a little bit after I graduate, I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my parents or anything. They don't know what a High Rocks is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows in my family what a High Rocks is. So I was just like, why not? Let's jump the gun.
And when is that event? When's the New York event?
June 5th.
All right. So they have time to learn what that is.
They have time.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to try.
Okay. So let's go back to volleyball, and I don't know because I was just I was talking with the guys about this too, but the idea of preparing for something, it kind of comes from that athlete mindset and kind of the athlete calendar of in season, off season, preseason, and all those different things. So with volleyball, with your club team and everything else, what did that look like? Not from the actual match and playing volleyball, but the preparation and the working out for that. What was the schedule like for that?
So we would have 2 practices a week, and then we would play during the weekends, every weekend. So I lived on a volleyball court my whole life. My brother also played volleyball, so I was always there. And then we would get 2 practices a week, and I would always look forward to practice because I love playing. I love the structure of it. I love the exercise part about it, but I also loved my team. I really liked the community that we had. All the girls were really nice. My coach, during my last seasons, my coach trusted me so much. He would tell me I would be the one who set up the squad.
Okay.
In the court. And he gave me that confidence to you're ready, you can do it. Just believe in yourself. And I feel that after having volleyball and not having a coach or anything, just holding myself to that standard because I know what I can do. For my training right now, I think that is what keeps me motivated and just that confidence that they gave me. It will keeps me drive.
So with the lessons learned from that, whether it's the organization, the coach's trust, or your own kind of dedication, how is that starting to translate for you now as a personal trainer, both with learning to be a personal trainer, but then also with meeting with clients and all? Are you finding that you're able to use a lot of what you've learned here?
Oh yeah. A lot of the exercises I use stem from volleyball, especially for the dynamic stretching, activation. They're a lot from volleyball. And also I learned very quickly on that I cannot rely on motivation. I have to rely on discipline.
Okay. So
I don't believe are there times that I don't want to work out? Yes. I think everybody has that part. But I also know that if I'm going to work out, not going to half-ass it. I don't know if I can say that. Okay. You can cut it out if not. I'm not going to do something 50% when I know I can give my 100%.
Right.
So I just rely on discipline, just tell myself I have to do it.
Yeah.
Because we get to do this.
Yep.
It's we have our bodies, like we have given, well, God gave us our bodies so we can do things. Just try it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lose anything. I'm going to feel way better afterwards too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think a lot of that and what you're saying applies probably to your clients and people that you're talking with, right?
Yeah.
Is that idea of whatever the motivation of the organization needs to be to get you to where you want to be. So some people, they need an event, right? Or some people just need it because they need to in their own mental capacity work towards something or be working towards something. Some people eventually just get to the point where that's just what they do, right? Working out goes. But I know in one of the reasons we wanted to have this conversation is the idea of planning and preparing around and for something as former or current athletes and now trainers, how that applies. So for you and a new trainer doing orientations, you're getting to meet new clients and things like that. How do you discuss that with that? Have you run into anyone that was was interested in doing something specific, like an event, and preparing for that when they met with you?
As far as now, I've gotten a lot of, I want to just feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mainly got women, and they're almost everything you hear is I just want to feel good, or I just want to look good. I haven't had anybody say like, oh, I want to train for this. Like I have my friends, 3 of my roommates, well, 2 of my roommates are also running the half. So I've helped them as well.
Yeah.
Because they do have like an event to prepare for. But in terms of clients, no. But I really want somebody who's like, I want to do like a high rocks, for example. And just like go through that training with them. Because I feel it's so validating once you end the workout. You're on the turf, sweating, I don't know how much. And just feel good, but you feel accomplished. Yeah. So
have you met with anyone that's is thinking about doing the DECA event here in Bala? Has that come up at all in Radnor?
I've heard people who want to do it, but not necessarily clients I've had.
Okay.
I just heard people like talking about it and like trying to do it. Today I saw women like just looking at the sheet, just like I think contemplating doing it. Which that would also be. I've never done a DECA.
Yeah.
I didn't honestly know what a DECA was until recently. I've never heard about it, but it seems fun. Since I'm doing a high rocks, it's not obviously the same thing, but pretty similar.
They're pretty close together.
Yeah,
right?
pretty
so
similar events.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go back to your wheelhouse of the running, because I always find this interesting, because I think running, I don't want to say awful because we're on a fitness podcast, but it's not my favorite thing either. Cardio, right? But there's versions of it that I work into workouts with HIIT training and things like that, because you have to do some version of it. What drew you to that? I'm always fascinated to hear about people that like to do distance running and why they like that.
So when I first got back into it, because I started running in last summer or 2 summers ago.
Oh, so this is recent.
2 summers ago, I started running because I was like, I'm going to do the half. That's in the Dietz and Watson half. Mm-hmm. That's on November or October, around that time. Yeah. I was training for it. I just never paid for it. I trained, ran, everything. I just never paid for it, so I couldn't participate in it. And then I stopped because it got cold. And running on a treadmill is the worst thing you can ever do.
Yeah, for sure.
And then last year, I was really cold. I get cold very easily. Anything below 80 to me is cold. So I was really, really cold, and I was like, I need to warm up. So I ran a 5K. I hadn't run a lot beforehand, but I was like, I felt good, so I kept going. I was like, okay, I can stop at the 5K. And after that, I just kept running because it just helps me clear my mind. Listen to a podcast, listen to music, depending on the day. But I never look at it as like, oh, I have to run this much. Mm-hmm. It's like, I get to run this much. It's like, I can do it. And also just like, I love listening to like Huberman Lab, like science podcast. Mm-hmm. So listening to that is just like, it doesn't feel like work. Like obviously like I'm deep breathing and everything, but like at the end I feel relieved.
Yeah. Like, I do know running outside and running a treadmill are definitely 2 different stories for sure. Yeah. Okay. So there's 2 things that you're passionate about, you're into. You like, if someone new is coming to you and they're like, hey, I want to do, they're you 2 years ago, right? And they're like, I'm going to do a half marathon. What are the tips, the tricks outside of obviously some of the distractions obviously are good things because you get to you can condition and educate at the same time, which is always a good thing. But, what do you discuss with them as far as preparing, let's say, for the half marathon and then also for a high rocks? I'm sure it's two different things.
So one thing people don't really understand, and I didn't understand how big of an impact it was until last week, is like sleep, recovery, eating. Okay. Those three things can go a long way when it comes to running and just like working out overall, how you're going to feel the day afterwards or beforehand. So I was for spring break, I went to Dominican Republic. It was fun, but I didn't sleep. I slept like 4 hours a day. You cannot like drink water there. Like it always has to be like on bottle. And then obviously like food wise, and we didn't want to spend that much. So it wasn't the best. And I was supposed to run at 10 miles. Also the heat, it was way bad. So bad compared to what's here. So it was really difficult. I couldn't run the 10 miles. I did 7 miles, which I'm happy with because I knew the outcome. But now I'm just like trying to get my body to go again as it once was. Because beforehand I ran 9 miles in a really, really good time, like under 9 minutes. And I felt great afterwards. But after that 7 miles, I was like dying. And it all just comes down to the sleeping, the recovery, and then the eating. Just like have to eat properly to like, you have to fuel for your sessions. So I think just like the importance of that, I think a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, that's funny. But the recovery part, I think sometimes gets cut out of everything. And as we know with AFC, that's something that we've tried to highlight over the last couple of years. But to make sure that whatever you're training for, whatever your why is or your purpose is, that you have that recovery aspect there. Because if you don't have that, then it's hard to, if you can't recover, then you're not going to get back to training. And then that cycle just gets disrupted. So that idea that you can't do that. So, okay. So for to go full circle, you have a new client that wants to do a high rocks event. Okay. And they're saying, this is something I want to do. What advice are you giving them outside of recovery for preparation for that? Are they training with you? Number one. And then number two, what after that?
I feel like working out is a lot more mental than it is physical. Like I feel people don't push themselves enough because they say like, oh, my legs are tired, or oh, my arms are tired. But the other day, what I always tell myself is, if you can suffer a little bit more, and then you'll be fine. Then you can rest. Like once you finish, you can rest. So I think a lot of people just want to do it, and then like they look at the end, not the journey. And a lot, like, I don't know if you know Nick Bear. So he has to go one more. I read that book and I loved it. And I was like, you can go one more. And that's what I always tell myself. Like when I'm either struggling during a workout or like want to finish, it's like, you can do one more. You got it. It's just like, yes, you're going to suffer, but suffer a little bit now is going to be a huge reward afterwards. So.
Well, listen, the mental struggle of just fitness in general is a real thing. And so it sounds like you would be the perfect trainer for every one of us that says, I'm going to stop here, and they need someone in their ear just saying, one more. So I appreciate your time and you coming out and talking to me a little bit about it.
Thank you for everything. Thank you for having me.
We're now kicking all the Radnor trainers out, and we brought in our pros, our ballot trainers here.
The best
trainers. And want to continue the conversation we're having with them about, the idea of what you guys train for outside of training, right? And because it's a lot of times, and I want to get a background from you guys as well, a lot of trainers come from an athlete mindset or in a background, and that leads us into it. And I said us because I grouped myself into there as well. I'm just kidding. But for you guys, for me coming out of basketball and baseball in high school and in college and all that kind of led me to being a personal trainer. And I'm sure that you guys have a lot of the same. And then finding the next thing is kind of what keeps us motivated ourselves. And so competitions, events, the things that we get into. So I know we have a combination of High Rocks, DECA, and Tough Mudder people with us. So I know a little bit about all three, but I'm hoping you guys can give us a little bit of background for everyone that doesn't know anything. But before we get to that, why don't you guys give me a background on yourselves for everybody. Charlene, we'll start with you. How long have you been with AFC?
Okay.
How long have you been personal training, if you've been training before AFC? And give us an idea of some of the events that you like to compete in.
Yeah. My name is Charlene. I've been with AFC It'll be 4 years in June. So since June 2022. Honestly, time has gone by so fast. It's crazy. I can't believe it's been 4 years. But yeah, so I love doing personal training, and this is my first year actually doing a competition. I know I've been challenged to do like bodybuilding by.
I thought you did stuff before.
No, I did not. It's honestly like my body won't let me sometimes. Like my back, like I just have all these issues that come along. But like I've always been very athletic, and like I loved competing. Like I ran track, played tennis, and I'm still like that. So it's just as you get older. But yeah, so I've definitely this is my first time doing high rocks. I've never done a competition. Okay. This is my first time. I started doing this because I wanted to challenge myself more. But I sort of started training to do bodybuilding. But then that, again, like I said, my body was like, nope, So I guess I could talk a little bit about that process in itself. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. And Liv, what about for you? Give us a little background for you.
Yeah. So I've been in AFC for May will be 3 years. And I'm, doing my thing here.
There you go.
Growing up, definitely super into any athletics. I was field hockey, basketball, softball was my main sport. Played that for ever and ever and ever and ever.
Okay.
And I got to college and no more sports. I didn't have I went to Temple. I would have loved to play there, but didn't work out. That's all right. So I found the love for the gym and fitness and pushing myself in that way, in that sense, instead of being in a team sport. But then I've always played in a team sport, and then you go to something I'm going to the gym by myself, so finding something that you want to work for, which is why events like DECA, High Rocks, whatever it is, that's why I've been really drawn to them recently, because if you're at the gym, that's obviously awesome and working just to be better with strength and functionality, all of that. But having a specific goal you want to work at makes the biggest difference when you're training.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about earlier too. With Tyler and Steven were here with us, and we were just talking about the idea coming from an athlete's schedule and the preparation. It's hard to get rid of that once it's in your mind. That's just how you operate. It's almost like your seasonal training schedule.
Yeah.
And so the idea for softball, and Charlene, what sports did you play?
I did. I ran track and I played tennis.
Okay. So it's all the same thing. So you have in season, off season, preseason, all those different schedules that you have to stick to, and it's always leading up to something.
Yep.
And so that idea that when it just goes away, Liv, you kind of mentions all right, now I'm just working out to work out.
Yep.
And sometimes it's coming out of a sport you can go one of two ways. You can find something that focuses you and organizes you, or sometimes, fortunately, people fall out of it, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you see professional
Big
athletes. It's hard when they get out of sports sometimes if they don't have something. And so, and that's why I thought this topic was kind of an interesting one, because our trainers, they're here all day and they're training with clients all day, but there's also stuff they need to do for themselves too. And obviously we're hosting something here at Ballot, which is important to mention too, but we do this, you guys do this all the time. It's not just because of the DECA event coming up.
Yep.
And so for your events, and Charlie, maybe even you could talk about with the injuries before you're injured or you feel like you can't what is the lead up to, how do you prepare for that stuff the same way you did with your sports? Do you have a ramp up and then a cut down, or is it cardio? How do you prepare for the events?
Yeah. So, I think it's just, so you mean for example, with me preparing for High Rocks?
Yeah. Whatever the next thing is you're preparing for, what does the schedule look like? Just like you would do as an athlete.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just like you said, having something to train for does motivate you, because, doing this for I've been doing this for over 10 years since I was 19. I'm 32 now. So you do get to a point where it's you have nothing to work out for. Your workouts get boring. You can get really, unmotivated. So, and you still get unmotivated even if you're training for something. So right now, just honestly, to me, having my coworkers help, just being around people, being surrounded by people who are actually doing the same thing. We're all humans, and it's hard to motivate yourself. Every single person, it's really hard. So I know for me, for example, with Olivia, her also doing the High Rocks, or have been down the High Rocks, just kind of surrounding myself with people who are preparing for the same thing. That's how I kind of prepare myself. Or bringing in a friend. I'm doing it with one of my friends who she's not a trainer, but then I'm doing it with her. So it's just kind of bringing in people that I know, how figure out a way to help each other get to that goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Liv, what about you as far as the
Yeah.
schedule goes and the events?
Which is, it's nice for this year. I'm doing 3 things back to back to back, basically. I have the Broad Street Run, my High Rocks, and then DECA. Pretty much.
Do you have them broken out though? Like how do they?
Yeah, they're all within 6 weeks of each
Oh,
other.
okay. No, you don't have them broken out.
Wow. Right. No
I got
So-
you. Okay. All right.
But it's kind of a good thing. I'm using that as like the Broad Street Run is first, and I take off probably around like 6 months of the year, and I really focus on strength. And then the other 6 months before these events, I
Yeah.
focus on more cardio and endurance training and all of that style. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm
Yeah.
really, really like, you'll see me running outside. I run like 4 times a week right now, and I'm doing HIIT once a week. I still do my strength training, but I kind of flip flop that based on how my events coming up.
Yeah.
So I'll have a little bit of, you always need to have a little bit of a taper before, but it's like I got 6 weeks till the Broad Street, so I'm really like trying to push the running right now and just increase, just endurance in general. And then High Rocks will be like about a month after that.
Yeah, you got them really. They're close together.
Might as well.
Yeah,
Might as well just go
rip
for
the
it.
Band-Aid off, right?
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
also young, so.
It's interesting too. I mean, you guys probably come across this when you're meeting with current clients or new clients. All is like there's different, like you said, like there's age groups and chapters of life for people, right? So, and the one that I mentioned to the guys earlier when we were talking about the same thing is, I remember taking Carlos's class Monday and Wednesday for probably 3 years straight,
Wow.
maybe even longer, James. I don't know, but it was a long time.
Yeah.
But that was at 2 kids. And then and then the schedule changes a little bit, and
Yeah.
then but you can really position yourself to use whatever as your motivator, right? Whether it's an
Yes.
event, right
Yes.
now, I'm trying to make sure I can keep up with the younger 2 the same way I kept up with the other 4. So I have a training schedule and things that I do still, but even with that, it's just like a general dad
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
I think having an event, it's still just something on the calendar that's like,
That's the
you
difference.
gotta
can't
do it.
hide from that thing on the
Right.
calendar, right?
Yep.
Like that's a real thing. Because even the parenting aspect of it that so many people deal with, like
Yeah.
that can get really gray, right? And even I know we've talked about this before with some other clients. Like a vacation sometimes can be a
good
motivator too,
motivator.
because that's as a date. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yep.
I gotta be committed to that. And I think these events
Yeah.
are similar to
Right.
that in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know for me, if I pay for something, I will, because
Yeah.
it's not
Well,
cheap.
and yeah, the financial
Right,
aspect
so then I'm
too,
like,
yeah.
I paid for it, so that's also
Yeah.
another big motivator. It's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
paid for it, because if I didn't pay for it, I could just like not do it.
That's-
you know?
Yeah.
So that's
I think it's just important to have something on the calendar that you're working for.
Yeah.
And you're putting time into yourself, because you have obviously best excuses in the world. Literally, children, best excuses in the world. But it's still like making time for yourself.
Right.
And it's for them in the long run, but
Right.
it's also big time for yourself. So having that thing on the calendar, whatever it is the good thing that helps you push.
Yeah, and that's why I think like that's a great thing. But for me, I always thought like, and I've tried to use that for years. And it's like, but I didn't really stay on the schedule. I think the way you do, even if the kids, like if you have kids or family or whatever it is
Whatever
that
it
you're
is.
training for, spouses and significant others, like we want to stay in shape and be, respectful of that relationship. I think that stuff all matters,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
And
I agree.
But if that's just it, and then there's not the organizing tool of an event or something else
Yeah.
like that, it's
Yeah.
easy to sway
Yep,
seasonally,
totally.
Very
right?
easy.
And I think those events, that's why I think the events are great.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So I'm excited we're hosting something here. We've done it before, and
Yeah.
we have another one coming. And so I think those events, but even more importantly, I think you guys and our trainers on a daily and weekly
Yes.
basis are bigger than those events. So
Yeah.
if you're meeting with a client who's maybe wandering, but I'll use that as me as a reference, right? If I'm wandering, but I don't have a target, do you guys find yourself, do you talk them into like setting some sort of target, or even if it's not an event, do you have those conversations with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely tried, depending on the client, right? Like some clients just want to be fit for the rest
Right.
of their life, especially like older clients, like they don't get motivated by that. But yes, like usually like my younger clients, like, who like, I have one client that I've been training him for a while. Like he's gotten in shape, like he's lost weight, like he's gotten his goals, So I actually was telling him about the High Rocks, and I was like, you should do that or you should do this, because I feel like that's something that could take his workouts to the next level, because I do feel like, you know, eventually he is gonna, you will get unmotivated, you know. So those are conversations I definitely bring up to some of my clients, like, you know, and I try to push them depending on the person.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to feel for who you're talking to.
Same, exactly.
Yeah. No, I have several clients. I mean, that's the first conversation that you have. You know, you go over their health history, and then you go right into what are your goals.
Yeah, what are we doing here?
What are we doing? Are we here? We're just, because like you said, like there's definitely some people that want to work out just to, you know, feel good, which is totally a valid thing to do. But then there's some people that are like, I'm training because I'm having a knee replacement.
Yeah.
And that that date's on the calendar. You know, May 15th, I'm having my knee replacement. And so you got to help them and build up their strength. So making the physical therapy process better, whatever it is, you know. So I always push people to have a goal, whether it's something super specific or a little, it can be vague, that's fine. But like, let's have a bit of a purpose.
Yeah.
Of
That's
why
helpful
we're here.
as a trainer too. That you
Yeah.
have like, hey, we're organized around something. I didn't
Yeah.
think about the medical and surgery part of it.
Yeah.
Is the preparation before surgery is
Exactly.
it is more important because
Yeah.
your recovery is going to go one of two ways based on
Exactly.
how you handle
time.
yourself.
Yeah, so
beforehand.
I try to remember to educate them on that, because a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, they think the surgery will fix it, but it's like, no, like you have to prepare yourself for the surgery and post surgery.
Yeah.
So it's just like making sure that you're educating them on, you
Yeah.
know, that. And also, like, if somebody's saying like they're turning 50, I'm like, I mean, you know, again, depending on the person, because some people are not motivated by that, but like depending on the person, I'll be like, yeah, like, do you want to like have that be like, you know, 6 months from now, you know? And they're like, yeah, you know, like, let's do it. So
And
it does.
I point out to people on the floor, we have up the posters for the DECA here. And I'll always point out to my clients and be like, you signing up?
Yeah.
You signing up right now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because, you know, I believe most people can do the events. And even
Well,
if
and
you
if
do singles
this is
or
a good
doubles.
time. You get signed up in the next few weeks,
You got plenty
months
of
or so.
time to
We have
train.
time. You have time to do some work,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So listen, I could geek out on the training side of things with you guys as far as the
I love
client relation part, but I wanted to circle back on one because you guys, I don't know who's doing the Tough Mudder or has done the Tough Mudder.
I've done the Tough Mudder.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one we haven't talked about before. So we've gotten a pretty good detailed description of the DECA, of the High Rocks. But for those who don't know what a Tough Mudder is, because that's no joke.
That
and
is not a
that's
joke.
outside and getting dirty, the whole deal.
Ooh.
Tell everybody what that is.
That was quite the experience. You know, we did it with a little crew from here last year, which was really, really
That's
great.
right. We did have
Yeah, we had a
bunch
nice.
of it.
Yeah, we had a little crew with us, which helped me a lot.
Yeah.
That ended up being a 10-mile
Yeah.
run essentially, which I had never ran 10 miles before that day.
Yeah.
So that was a fun way to start. But the Tough Mudder was absolutely bonkers, and it was just hills and hills and hills, and like, think central Pennsylvania. Like it is.
Obstacles,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
You
like
go
little-
over. I was looking at some of these obstacles, I was like, no,
Yeah.
no. But then you find a way, and you know, you're with your team,
Yeah.
and we help each other, you know, get over the wall or get under the ice bath at the very end.
There's singles and team events, right? Like you run it with a group of people.
You're technically individual,
Okay.
but you can run together,
Yeah.
and that was definitely the best way to do it, because there's certain things like we would hook up with another group and do it all together, because
Yeah.
there's things you need 10 people to
I
do.
always picture the wall because I've
Yeah,
trained
yeah.
I've never done a Tough Mudder, but I trained for one.
That
you
was
did?
the
Yeah.
only
Wow.
obstacle we went around, actually, because we
I was
were
gonna say I would need a
the-
team to get.
there was like
Yeah,
it's
right.
like a,
Get me out of here.
it's like you make the human ladder, and you have to
Right.
like stack bodies.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Stack bodies.
yeah, girl.
yeah, you're like and then pull the next person. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a
you're like
whole-
leaning backwards on a thing. That was the only one we were all like, this is not.
That's a run around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we
not
run around.
not the safest thing ever, but everything else was very doable, and that was scary.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff was like you climb up, you know, the whatever the ropey thing is. You're like 40 feet in the air, and you have to
Oh, the
cross
full rope
over the
ladder.
top
Yeah, yeah.
and climb all the way back down, and you know you get up there and you're like, ooh, you know,
Yeah.
and you're putting yourself in a situation that you're not typically in.
Yeah.
But it's really, you know, you do it, and you end up doing it, and it's just like, wow, I'm super surprised that I could do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Not that you want to do it again, but you got
I
one
don't
done.
know if I do.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was the mud part that I don't
Yeah.
really want to have to deal with that again.
All right.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was quite the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was good team building.
Definitely.
Right?
I recommend it for groups of people.
So with your clients, and if you're meeting with someone and they're looking and they want to get into one of these events specifically, right? So we'll just use the High Rocks as an event. They've never done it before, right? You guys have both been there where you wanted to do something and you haven't done it before. Where do you start them? What's the conversation like from a training, like just getting started with training? How do you what kind of timeline should they look to give themselves, right? They shouldn't be booking something in April, first week of April, I'm assuming, right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
What are those conversations like? What are you kind of giving them?
I think it's smart to ask them, if they're your client and you've been working with them, you should have a good sense of like where their fitness level is at.
Right.
That's a good point.
So if you've been working with them, it's a little easier to figure that out. Most people, at least with us, we mostly train people for strength purposes. I mean, some people do HIIT and cardio in their sessions, but most of the time we have clients, I feel like, that are here for strength. And most of these events are not like strength based. There's strength elements, but it's like a cardio situation. So giving them time to build up, whatever it is. I mean, I would say give yourself at least 6 weeks minimum, if you can, before an event. That way you can properly train for whatever it is you need to do. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said because you took the words out of my mouth. Like just seeing where their strength level is. Like I personally would not just recommend this to anybody just because like you have to know your client and know what they can do. So like I said, like I have a couple people where I'm like, oh yeah, this, you can do this. Of course, like they're scared. So they do need their trainer to motivate them or just like tell them that they can do it. Even if they're fit with you, like for some reason, just doing something on their own. Sometimes people just get like so scared. So I think for me, it's just like seeing where the strength level is at. And then like, it makes it exciting for me as a trainer because I can actually now create like a program for them, like a new program, like a new routine.
Just new style.
Up to, it's like a different style. It shakes things up a little bit. You get to push them a little bit more. So yeah, it depends on the client. And it's like, as a trainer, it's like, it's exciting to be able to train somebody for something.
Okay. And are you guys both, you're not competing in the DECA here, right?
I am.
I thought you said you had 6 weeks of hell in the fall.
In the fall? No, just 6 weeks, like May to like.
Oh yeah, I
June.
guess on my 6 weeks I'm confused. I'm just the summer in
general.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Do you guys are you doing DECA as well?
I'm not. Maybe I'll do it next time. I was being scared. I'm not gonna lie because I'm doing the High Rocks and that's
the
already
High Rocks is 2 weeks.
Before.
It's
right.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Okay.
I'm taking it easy.
It's a lot.
I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie, it's scary because even the High Rocks, it's tough. Like. We did a workout yesterday, and that was not
High Rocks
easy.
is no joke.
It's definitely tough.
No joke.
So I was like, let me just give myself like time first.
No, that makes sense. I didn't realize they were that close together.
Yeah, they are close together.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming out and chatting about it a little bit and kind of giving everybody some insight. I think, one of the key parts, I keep going back to it is, there's the events themselves, which are awesome. And there's so many different versions of them and they can be team building events. They can be just schedule and coordination events and whatever it is, but whatever your motivation is, I think, and this isn't just coming from me from AFC. I think getting with a trainer, talking to a trainer, if you have specific goals, whether they're event or based or not, and then putting a seasonality to it, right? Like stages to lead up to it. And if you're not currently doing that, or you don't know how to do that, I think getting with our trainers and our training team to have those discussions where you guys can sit one-on-one and give them some of the background that you gave a little bit now, but really to take the time to meet with the trainers, whether it's you two or some of our other trainers, to talk about, what are you looking to do? What are you looking to accomplish? And get as specific as you can. I know there's clients out there like, I just want to stay in shape.
Right.
That's great. Let's get a goal in mind. Let's put a target out there that we can go chase down, because a lot of times people just train to just train. And it's just becoming it's just routine. They're not pushing. They're not moving to the next stage. And even if they're comfortable where they're at, if they don't maintain, that will gradually slip away from them, especially just with age. We know that happens, right? If I trained the same way I'm training now, but I maintained the weights or the distance or the endurance or the flexibilities, that's my big one right now. But so that I can, when I'm 45 and 46,
Yeah.
47, I can maintain those things that can be
Yeah.
change the way you live. And
Yeah.
the older you get, how you live can change for
Yeah.
you. So
Yeah, I like that. So kind of, like you said, you don't want it to be so monotonous, for them and me as a trainer too, just having like a goal. I think that's,
Yeah,
that's
new
that
goals.
shakes
Always trying to
things.
make new goals.
Yeah. I like
yeah,
that.
those benchmarks. It's the preseason, in season, and off season workout, or whatever it is
Right.
you're in season for,
Right.
right? Like that
Yeah.
idea that you gotta be focused on something, and that it's going to organize you. It's the same thing we do with work, with anything you do.
Right.
If you don't have time management, it all can just kind of get muddled together. And I think your workout and what you're working out for
Yeah.
is the same as anything else,
Right.
with that
Right.
stuff.
Yep.
So,
I like that.
all right.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Matt.